Hello, Global Theater. My name is Jerry Fielka. Today is Feb 1, 2022. We want to thank Rob Grant and his amazing podcast channel called I'm Probably Wrong About Everything. Thank you, Rob. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with Bill Dougal. Where are you calling in from, Bill?
Lebanon, Connecticut.
Oh, how cool is that? And it's an honor and a pleasure to meet you. We have a common friend, Susie Williams. So let's just dive right into it. What's your favorite, or excuse me, what's the best thing for a human being?
I'd say um, self amusement.
Oh, I like that. I
I
don't
know,
think I've
I,
ever had that one.
I know that sounds lightweight, but I think if you can amuse yourself, you can amuse others, and amusement leads to heavier things than just sort of like liking an ice cream cone or something.
Dude, that's not lightweight. That's heavy. The great
Very
Jack Hirsch.
fitting.
Yeah, Jack Hirschman just died. He's called the Red Poet. He was an immensely important poet in San Francisco, and he thought James Joyce was the only person who cracked themselves up with their own art. And I says, well, Frank Zappa does that too. In the middle of his album, he says something, he starts laughing. So I think self amusement. Hey, if you amuse yourself, you're on the right track. You made someone laugh.
Yeah, I crack myself up with my art and humor all the time. Although sometimes I wonder about that. So my policy is to amuse myself and please myself with the things I create and hope other people like it. Although a lot of people would criticize that plan, uh, but
No, I we're gonna get into
that's my
that.
plan.
Yeah, you got ESP. We're gonna get into exactly what you just said. But the next question is, what's your favorite form of information? How it comes into you?
Well, I don't. I'm guessing I've got to discount my mind. I get. I think I get information from my mind, but perhaps you're talking about outside information, in which case, um, when I need some information, the internet is very helpful.
Right. And why do you think humans collect or gather information?
Well, they're amused and they want to better themselves. They want to be prepared. They want to have. They feel that they can do better in life the more information they have. People say information is power.
Yeah. Do you think this need or want to collect information is more innate or more invented by humans?
My guess is innate, but I don't know.
Yeah. So that's what I'm after, Bill, is your guess, your intuition, your impulse. Some of these questions you might go, oh, yeah, that's a neuroscientific question. It doesn't matter. It's just what your guess is. So that was good. You got a sense of where we're at. Do thoughts create emotions?
I think they do because your emotions respond to something, and the something might be something that you've thought about.
Yeah. Is thinking more innate or more invented?
I'd say it's innate.
Great.
Sometimes it's inane. In my case,
There you go. What's another word for inane? What does that mean?
inane.
Yeah.
I guess it means crazy.
Crazy. Yeah.
Bunkers, wacky, crackers.
Bonkers, wacky. Those are all my favorite words, dude. Okay, so fill in the blank. I don't know what I think until I.
Double think.
Oh, nice. Can humans think without language? You are brilliant. No one's done that. That's one of my new questions in the last year, and no one has answered that way. I love gesture. Who needs stinking word? T.S. Eliot, the poet, says, when I speak to you, I got to use words, not necessarily.
Right.
Chomsky says language is not just words. It's culture, tradition, a unification of community, a whole history that creates what a community is. Bill, what do you do when words don't work? When language breaks down, what do you do?
Oops.
Nice. That was good. I've never had that answer either. Highly original, dude.
The only problem is I don't think you can get me the coffee over the internet.
No, with 3D printing, all we need is one of those hotshot kids who can write code, and then in your printer, hidden inside your printer is a coffee maker.
The coffee would probably taste real inky. Yuck.
Your observations of humans, Bill, are they more feeling beings or more thinking beings? I know it's both and it depends, but just your hunch.
I'd say feeling.
Yeah. These are two questions Alan Turing asked in 1950. Is thinking a function of the soul?
I don't know anything about the soul, but I could comment on that last question again.
Go ahead.
Sometimes people say that people don't care what you say; they care how it makes them feel.
Yeah.
Of course, they should care what you're saying too, but sometimes that's the way people are, and I don't think it's right. You know what I mean? Like if somebody says something great, but they've got a delivery style that people don't relate to, they discount what the person might be saying.
Yeah, it's a big picture. You got to incorporate both. McLuhan has a great line about that. He goes, "Shut up," he said. The second Turing question is, can machines think?
I don't know because I don't keep up on science, but if they don't, they'll be thinking pretty soon.
Yeah. Do you more pursue happiness or more pursue meaning?
Happiness. Happiness happens. Happiness happens. Happiness happens. It'll happen to you. Ba 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 boo.
Very good. Now that's one of your new songs you're treating us to, or that just came off the top of your head this moment?
Well, that's a song I wrote about 7 months ago. It's not part of my new art song repertoire.
It's pretty good. How many songs you've written in your life about?
Ooh, I don't know. My guess is 303.
That's pretty good. That's one of my favorite numbers. Well, we'll get to songwriting soon. Does the brain more detect consciousness or create it? Like, is consciousness bubbling away and we're detecting it, or are we creating it?
I would say we're creating it.
Yeah.
Because the consciousness is our consciousness. So if it's ours, we're creating it.
Yeah. What's faster, speed of light or speed of thought?
Well, not me. I'm pretty slow answering that question. Light thought. I wouldn't know.
You can't dismantle the master's house using the master's tools. That's Audre Lorde, the poet. Yvonne Rainer, a dancer poet, responded, you can if you expose the tools. What new tool excites you? What new tool do you suggest? You can apply the quotes or not. Some of my questions, I start them off with these cute quotes, but you can put it into the context you want. in dismantling the master's house, or just new tools in general?
I could picture a new tool that relates to one of the things that I think is very important, which is connections between things.
Yeah.
And as an artist, a lot of my artwork comes out of connections between things, like combinations of things or analogies between art and music and things like that. And sometimes I've got a piece of music I like a lot, and I'd say, boy, I'd like to hear some more music like that. I like Noel Coward, and I can't find anybody that gives me what Noel Coward gives me. So if there was a tool that helped you link up to connections, that would be good.
Dude, that is brilliant. Susie's partner, Noel, Brad Kay, did a version of Noel Coward singing a Bob Dylan song.
Uh,
It's really good. It's funny. I got to show it to you someday. That was good. Now, what new toy do you suggest?
hmm. I can't think of a new toy. The old ones, like a cardboard box, one of those tubes from the toilet paper, they're pretty good.
Oh, that's fun. You
Can't touch that.
anticipated. You can't go wrong with that. You anticipated one of the questions at the end of this long interview, so I'll hold it till then. But one of the first recording devices looks just like a toilet paper roll.
I know that. I dig into old music. Yep.
Yeah, what is it called? A cylinder.
Phonograph horn.
Yeah, cylinders were the first recording device, and they look like a toilet paper roll.
I've got a cylinder machine.
Do you really? How cool is that? What do you worry about when you go to bed at night?
Well, I worry about dumb stuff. Uh, let me see. I mean, before I go to sleep or after I'm asleep?
Great question.
Oh,
Bill, you're answering a question with a question. You win. That's what our series is all about, inventing new questions. Yeah,
I,
yeah, either way or both. Yeah.
okay. Well, when I'm dreaming, I end up dreaming about some dumb stuff to worry about. Like I can't find my caricature spot at the fair, or I can't find a bathroom. There's no good reason for me to dream about that dumb stuff, and I'm not very happy about it, but that happens.
Marshall McLuhan learned from a poet that artists are the antenna of the race. So they're broadcasting and detecting the hidden psychic effects of our inventions. So we don't know how pencils have really changed us. We use them, embrace them. You use your markers and your writing utensils. I use mine. But deeper effects is what the poets, the artists, the painters, the musicians are revealing to people. But McLuhan's main question was, and I ask you, is why do humans ignore the hidden psychic effects of our inventions, even though artists are broadcasting them to us?
Yeah, I don't know why they do that. Um,
Do you think artists have a moral obligation?
no, I don't. I don't think anybody has a moral obligation.
Yeah.
But I know on one of your other interviews you said it's a given that everybody has one. But I think we're free not to have one if we don't want one.
Oh yeah, no, I hope I didn't imply it. I think it's up to the individual, and then it's really dependent on who's determining what's the morals are. Because cultures probably vary in what morals are, but I mean, I think everybody wants to be nice to other people, but sometimes it breaks down. So that could be called a moral obligation. But you know, I know Louis Buñuel has street kids beat up a blind person in his movie. I don't think that's something I want to promote, but I understand why he put it in his movie, to air it as an issue. Like, why does this happen?
right?
Are you more afraid of old ideas or more afraid of new ideas?
I'm more afraid of ideas that are that happen in the old days and the new days. Like war and things like that.
Yeah,
That's an idea that's old and it's new. It uh, prevails.
totally prevails. Great example because it's been around forever, and now that's all they're talking about on the news is war, war, war.
Yeah, we're tired of that.
Yeah, don't work. So, Bill, can you conjure up your earliest memory or one of them?
Yeah, I grew up on a state park. My father was the state park ranger out in out in Western Connecticut, and um, that was great. The whole state park was like my front yard playground. We had a big pine tree out in the front yard, and what one of my little things I like to do is I used to climb. I used to look at my watch and then run out, climb up the pine tree. There's some planks up there, like a little landing, and 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 then I would um, r- run down the pine tree or climb down a rope and then run down to the lake and then hop in a boat. And the boat I had was like a little small shrimp barge, and I used to uh, paddle it across the lake and see how long it took me.
Wow, that sounds like an ideal place to have your 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 playground. Amazing.
Yep.
So, do you think memory is more a curse or more a blessing?
I think it's a blessing.
Yeah. Tell me an early role model within your immediate family and then outside your immediate family, someone who had an impact on you, just briefly, and what specifically was that impact?
Well, my father uh, was a role model regarding work ethic, um, which was important in my life. He was also a role model regarding humor, but work ethic I got from him as a state park ranger. He had people working for him, and I heard about it around the house when he said people weren't working hard enough, and he was always working. He'd go out for a walk after hours, and he'd be picking up litter and checking for miscreants and things. So I've got a work ethic, even though I don't like work and manufacture and dig holes. The things that I like to call work are my songs and my projects, and I'm always pretty serious about doing that silly stuff. And um, I don't uh, I don't relax. I've always got a project, and when I have work to do on commission, some artwork, I jump right on it and get it done pretty efficiently.
Well, before we go to the second part, Bill, I want to tell you a joke that I like that's similar. The little kid finds out at some point in his life that, his dad goes to work and has a job, and his dad is an art teacher. So he says to his dad, "Well, what do you do, Dad, for your job?" He says, "I teach people how to draw." And the kid goes, "You mean they forgot?"
Oh, that's good. I never heard that. Yeah.
I thought I'd go along with your profession.
Oh,
So
now,
now,
speaking of work, I remember in I think in the lifeguard shack there was a little plaque on the wall, a little cartoon of somebody looking at somebody doing using a jackhammer, and it said, "Work fascinates me. I could watch it for hours."
I could watch it for hours. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I love those old sort of plaques they put on the wall with some sort of witty saying. Now, outside your immediate family, anyone who had an impact on you was sort of a role model, and what you get from them?
My high school art teacher, Sal Galino, and uh, he really encouraged me and exposed me to every possible type of art. And he was um, let me see, surrealism. He even did caricatures of us all, and now that's my specialty. And he supported my interest in collage and surrealism.
Beautiful. Did your parents raise you a particular religion?
No,
If God exists, what would you like God to say to you after you die?
well, as a special today, you're going back down to earth. I packed a lunch for you. Get out of here.
That is a great answer, Bill. Thank you. Do you pray?
No,
Do evil people exist, or does evil use people as a vehicle?
I think I think evil people must exist because I don't think evil is a thing. I don't think there's a devil walking around poking us.
Yeah, yeah. This question is basically, how do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? But first, I'm going to set up with a few modern thinkers' thoughts. Alan Watts says, if you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them. Coppola stole from the mob and the samurais, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. JFK said, forgive your enemy, but don't forget their name. And Fellini says, I need an enemy. So it's a lot of thoughts. The question is, how, Bill, do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? But first, how would you respond to Alan Watts? If you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them.
I think that's true. Uh, yeah, that's true about anxiety too. I think, right? Like
Yeah.
if I'm a little scared of going over bridges, so if I keep saying, oh, if I acknowledge it and say, yeah, I'm the type of guy that's scared over going over bridges, it has power over me,
Yeah.
and I know that's true, but I can't kick that in, impulse.
Yeah, that's great. So, how would you advise someone to deal with an enemy?
I'd advise them to ignore them as long as they can.
Yeah.
And if it came to a serious confrontation, that becomes one of those unanswerable questions. Um, I don't answer unanswerable questions.
That is good. James Joyce was the first projectionist in Dublin. He ran a cinema called Volta Cinema. He basically checked out. He said, this is stupid. Why should I go inside a building and see a movie of a tree when I can go outside and see a real tree? Years later, Faulkner said sometimes the best fiction is more true than journalism. Why do we have to recreate things in order to get them? Why do we have to go to a theatrical play of people acting out life? Why don't we just live life?
Well, artists can bring a new slant to it. They can combine it with other things, other concepts. They can present it in a different way, and it's their interpretation. A lot of art is observation and interpretation. That's what I tell people when I tell little kids about how to do caricatures. You observe and you interpret. If it was just if it was just a photograph of the person or the person, it wouldn't be art. It would just be the subject.
Yeah, it's good. I like those two words. So, walk us through, Bill, your career just briefly. What first attracted you to pursue drawing art as your career? And what first attracted you to pursue music as your art and your career? Like, give us a little of the background. Did your parents take you to art museums? Were they playing music around the house? Just walk us through how you got to those two main uh, callings.
Mhm. Um, my father had a couple of years of art school behind him, so he helped me uh, with art and supported that. I remember we'd be side by side, big easel, little easel, both painting from the same calendar picture with oil paints, even when I was like 10 years old. Um, Let me see. And yeah, so they supported my interest in art. Of course, they always said, I'll get a teaching degree for backup. I got it, but I didn't like it. I taught a little bit. I never wanted to teach a lot, but I always wanted to teach a little bit. Um, and
Were they taking you to art museums and galleries too?
yeah, they took me to museums, and even in high school, I remember my father signed me and him up for a life drawing, draw the nude model class at a local art gallery, and he even arranged for me to get an apprenticeship with a local artist who specialized in linoleum cuts. So that was a pretty clever thing of him to do. He,
Nice.
he and he knew this guy Eric Sloan, famous for painting barns. He
Yeah.
lived near us, and my father worked for him doing uh, yard work on the side. And he got he had this Eric Sloan uh, take a look at my portfolio, and the he wasn't very encouraging. I think he wanted to give me that tough love type of thing, to spur me to do better things. But I think he saw that I had talent, and
But
I
did
was able to draw pretty well before I got to art school, and then I got
oh
into
you took college art school?
yeah, I did 4 years of art school in college,
Where at?
Hartford Art School.
Was it worth it?
Yes, it was.
Good.
Yep, and not because of the degree, and not because of the basics, because of the I was able to sample every kind of art, which gave me a good general um, versing, and able to try out all sorts of creative uh, categories. They didn't make you choose major in painting or major in uh, printmaking. They said major in 2D or major in 3D. And there's lots of things in 2D that relate to each other. And I was glad that I tried. I never got training in music. My parents didn't do any music, and I just started making up songs in the early college years, just making up crazy little ditties and singing them a cappella to my friends. And event
But who were you hearing that was affecting you music wise?
wide variety, groups like the Kinks, and I would be discovering music. If I found a Harry Lauder record, or 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 a Mel
Who's
Torme
Harry?
record.
Who's Harry Lauder again?
Oh, he's a Scottish comedian singer.
Oh, okay. So like comedy music, like you found Tom Lear.
Um, yep, yeah, I hunted up all sorts of music from tag sale records and record shops. So I had a wide variety of influences.
But tell me also who was affecting your humor, appreciation of laughter and humor and wit. Was it all music guys, or was it also film or radio guys too? Who are some of your uh, uh, big impactful
I'd
humor
say
in
TV comedians, uh,
who?
like Ernie Kovacs, Sid Caesar. I, I would watch every comedian I could. When Ed Sullivan was on, I would be in my room and I'd yell. I'd tell my parents, if a comedian comes on, call me and I'll run right out.
Wow. Yeah, I was lucky. I interviewed Carl Reiner's son the other day. Man, Carl Reiner was amazing. He's a painter too. So then you're self-taught musician. You taught yourself guitar. Or what's your main instrument?
Well, my main instrument is singing and writing, and so so after a few years after college, I found a piano player to put music to my songs, and then I got a few more musicians, and eventually I had a band called Billy and the Buttons, and I was very lucky because they were willing to do all my songs. I couldn't play guitar. I can play guitar now, and
But what would you call the genre? What Billy and the Buttons? What did you call that?
we called it pun rock or art rock or croon rock. I had a concept that I could be singing in a croon style, but have the music be rock. There's a few antecedents to that, like the Kinks and Donovan, I think. But it turned out to be more rock than croon because of the musicians. But that was cool too, and they were great musicians, and we could jump from style to style, little song to song. So it was sort of a mishmash. Sometimes they called it skits rock because we would be going slow and then go fast. Oh, why not be nice? Why not be nice? Why not be nice?
That is good. I like that example. So, a
Oh,
screenwriting. Go
another
ahead.
another reason we might have called it skits rock is because we wrote comedy skits. We did theater shows. And we would put the songs between some little comedy skits that we wrote. We made videos and did theater shows besides playing in nightclubs.
Yeah. The screenwriting teacher told me great art, great music is great literature is when you can clearly see the intention of the maker. Stanley Kubrick says the opposite. Great art is when you can clearly not see the intention of the maker. What role does intention play in your creative process?
I think it's very important. And personally, I like it when there's a single auteur. Everybody seems to say collaboration is essential and very important, but personally, I don't work that way. I like to work alone.
Interesting. And so Duchamp said there's no art without an audience. How much are you thinking of your audience, your listeners, or your viewers when you're making your art?
Not a lot. I am thinking of them in that I've got subject matter. I don't just sort of make up a song out of nothing. I like to work with a purpose. Like for instance, I wrote a song about farmers markets, so that was my subject, and my audience was going to be the people that I wanted to convey the benefits of healthy local food to. So my material did relate to the audience, I guess.
Well, you want to sing one of your new 7 songs, a little 1-minute clip of it so we can get a sense, and tell us the audience you were writing for, and sort of the intention behind the song.
Okay. So this is a series of songs about art. My original idea was a bunch of songs about art, but I'm extending it. It's going to be hopefully 8 half-hour episodes, like a TV show about art with a mix of songs and then skits, songs and skits, which is the pattern I used for my Hatful of Fun series about character values and stuff for kids. So anyway, these are songs about art. They're not just for like little 4-year-old kids. So the audience is a little bit mixed up in my mind, because I think it's for adults, but a lot of adults are going to say that's for kids. But anyway, so I've got different topics. This one is about accidental art. Is it intention or random? Can chance and intention work in tandem? When you paint, you feel you want to wear the pants, but perhaps take on a partner named Chance. The paint tipped over on my pad. Is that bad? I don't know. I said. It's part of the process if it shows. Just like those brush strokes on those Van Goghs. You can do something accidentally, and it may be okay. Don't overthink it mentally. Maybe better that way. Is it intent or accident? Does it matter or not? But if your art looks magnificent, you might as well say, so what? So what?
Bravo, Billy. That was great.
Thanks.
Well, let's carry on. That was good. So while you got your guitar in your hand, McLuhan says everything we invent extends some humanness. So like clothing extends our skin, knife and fork extends our teeth. Philosophy might extend consciousness. Doesn't have to be tangible. What does the guitar extend for you? What humanness?
Well, I like to make up tunes. Frankly, the guitar doesn't mean a lot to me. Writing and singing mean a lot to me.
Yeah. Well, what do? You write the lyrics first or the melody first?
Sometimes it comes either way. Lately,
Yeah.
I've been writing for these. I've been writing the lyrics first, and then
Yeah.
I read them over and make up a melody pretty quickly, and then I bring the melody to my pal Bill Flowery on Zoom in Nashville, and he helps me get some good chords to it, and then I've got it.
Nice. So, what does the pencil or drawing utensil extend for you? What humanness?
Well, drawings are handmade, and the drawing shows that it's handmade. That's the way it happens. Although I guess a digital drawing is handmade too. It's just a stylus on a Wacom tablet. So I imagine that's just as human. But I like to do my drawing by hand.
Yeah.
And a lot of caricaturists do digital caricatures with a stylus, and they some of them that do custom caricatures just sort of trace a photograph in Photoshop and call that a caricature. But I like to do it by hand. Do a rough drawing, then a final drawing. I may scan it to touch it up or to color it occasionally. But I think drawing is my favorite medium over painting. Most people think painting is the final form that you're leading up to. And but I think a drawing can be a finished work of art, and it's the most important step in a painting.
Yeah, I like this because I really love what you said about observation and then interpretation. So,
Oh, I got something to say. I was teaching a Zoom cartooning class to little kids yesterday, and I told them I had a photograph of a person and a pet. I found it on the internet. How pets look like the people. So there's a guy and then a dog that looks sort of like the guy. So I said, this is what you're looking at. This is what I call photo reference, because they don't know about photo reference. I said, so when an artist draws, they can either work from photo reference, or they can work from life, something in person, or they can work from their imagination. Sounds obvious, but that's breaking it into those three possibilities is a bit important, and some people probably don't even think about it.
They don't think about it, and that's what you're there as the art teacher to just guide them. How old were the kids about?
About 9.
How
and
many?
They're very, very, very creative. One of them is just amazes me every time. And one of the things I like about her is that she makes connections and does sort of mixes things up. I'll give you an example of one of her pictures. First, I don't know why she did it, but she did a picture of a flatbed pickup truck, and on the back there was a boar, like a wild boar. He was facing the back, and he was burping. and that propelled the truck forward, and she titled it Burp Power.
Burp power, and it also kept away uh, people who come close to your tail. What do you call that tail?
Tailgaters.
It
Tailgaters.
keeps the tailgaters away.
Oh yeah, I'll tell her that's an added benefit.
So my friend talks about the 3 T's of music, but it's also in art: technique, theory, and taste. So technique is you can practice your sketching. Theory is perspective in various art techniques and theories, and manifestation of the whole observation and interpretation process. But taste, how does one acquire taste in music and in art?
Hmm. That's a good question. It could relate to influences, but if you're influenced too much, it's not your own style. I like to have a lot of influences and then hope my style pops out. I think it does. Sometimes you can change your style a little bit, but in the end, you've sort of got your own style if you're not brand new at it anyway.
But how would you like gravitate more towards the Kinks, where your peer group might have been more gravitating towards the Stones or the Beatles or somebody else?
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know why people like what they like. My parents also brought me to musical shows, theater shows. I like that a lot.
yeah.
And I like the idea of discovering art and influence and stuff instead of just liking what the other kids like.
Yeah. McLuhan says a funny thing about song, because it seems as though you're involved in the song as a piece of art form. That means melody and lyrics, but you're a little more conscious of the lyric, and now you're writing the music too. He says song is slowed down speech. The reason cultures have different musical taste is ultimately connected to language difference. Any comment?
Hmm. Yeah, I never thought of it that way. That might be true. I'll think
Yeah,
about that. No comment.
because it's interesting how does how do we get intrigued by a Brazilian song, though we might not know what it's literally saying? It still might touch us emotionally. Or like, have you ever heard the tuba throat singers? You know,
Yes, I don't know why people like what they like.
yeah, the tuba throat singers to me transform and are transcendental, but I found out all they're singing about is their boots, snow, and their horses.
Uh,
Tell me an
oh,
instrumental that makes you laugh. Can't be Spike Jones, but an instrumental music piece or
um,
composition.
there, it's probably obscure. There's a group called the Leaves, and they had a album called All the Good That's Happening, and there was a song at the end called Introduction to a Cartoon Show. It went. I can't do the tune, but it's very short and I don't know, but it was very funny, and I think that a lot of Fats Waller music has a sense of humor to it, even though it could be instrumental.
Yeah, I love Fats. He's one of my favorite. What's more fundamental, language or music?
Probably language, because people needed that to communicate, right? If a caveman wanted to uh, get a bone to cook up for supper, he had to he had to he had to ask the dinosaur for a bone. Okay, so can't
Very
swear,
good.
sorry. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd say language.
Sounds like a. Have you ever seen Sally Cruikshank's cartoon Quasi at the Quacadero? Oh, you're gonna freak out. You'll love this. It's like Betty Boop on acid. It's really good.
Hmm.
In our Crumbs band, Cheap Suit Serenaders,
Hmm.
they do the music for it.
Oh,
I'll send you a link. Quasi.
great.
It's on YouTube. It's pretty amazing.
I like it. I like a lot of real old music. I like all the stuff that Art Crumb likes,
Yeah.
for instance.
What do you think is the function of music?
Well, it gives a certain mood. It's sort of like uh, the soundtrack to a movie. It supports it, just like an illustration to a children's book supports the text. And in in my case, it helps me put over the song. It turns a poem into a song, and people like to listen to a song because I guess there's something about the actual music and the chords that can be approached um, emotionally.
Oh, we'll get back to poetry. What's the function of caricatures?
Um, that that lets people see an interpretation of their face. They see themselves as the artist sees them. Of course, you might say, what do they care how the artist sees them? But they get a kick out of it, and they say they can relate to something. They say, "Oh yeah, I do have a small chin," but it's a mysterious art form. Not many people do it because it's very risky. If you want to please people. Plus, it's also mysterious. I've been to some caricature conventions and had my caricature done by other artists. I've got a wall full of them, and when I look at them, it's very mysterious. You know, some people say I have a big chin. Some people say I have a small chin. Can they both be true? Caricature, you're changing reality, but you're still trying to get the impression of a reality. But theoretically, it can be a greater reality if it's done well. But yeah,
Yeah, that's it.
even though
That's
somebody gave me a small chin and somebody gave me a big, they still looked like me to a certain extent. Although they all agreed that I had big fuzzy eyebrows.
But Bill, it's interesting. This world of caricature, well, do customers get upset sometimes? You almost implied that the artist might do a caricature and then the financier, the person who's buying it might go, "Why'd you give me big ears?" Is that a pattern you've seen or it never happens?
It happens sometimes. It happens very rarely with me, but it happens sometimes. Sometimes it's a vanity thing. Sometimes um, they just don't see themselves like I see them, which is a possibility, certainly.
How did you deal with it when they said that's and can you tell me the story? What happened?
I remember once uh, a young teenage girl said she didn't like it and she ripped it up, and I didn't have to deal with her because she went away real quick. But
But you
usually,
mean she already paid for it?
no, I was hired by the hour. It's at a party, so she didn't have to pay for it. And
Wow.
I know it was a vanity thing, and it was
Yeah.
got a self image thing, but so I let it go. But usually I just say, well, I'm sorry. That's how I see you.
Right, but she didn't pay is one thing, but she didn't tell you what it was.
Well, what was?
Well, what was the reason she ripped it up?
No, she
She
didn't.
didn't
No, she didn't tell me. No.
did anyone ever say a particular reason?
Well, some people say, is that me? There's a chance that I haven't done it really well. Usually I agree with what I drew as opposed to what they say, but sometimes I would agree. If they were paying for it, and I thought I did it poorly, I would do it again at no charge, or give them their money back. But so I do it caricatures two ways. One is quickies at events where I'm paid by the hour. The other is fancy color ones where I'm doing it from a photo and they're paying money. But if people don't like it, I change it or give them their money back. I guess I could hold up a caricature now. That would be apropos. There's a caricature I did of Slim Gaillard.
Oh my God, he's one of my favorites. That is really good. How cool is that?
Thanks. I did another one before this that was a little more conservative, but I decided to do it again and loosen up, and this one's better.
Now, do you know what American president memorized all his lyrics?
No, was his name Harry? I don't know.
Ronald and Nancy Reagan.
How about that? I know he was. Yeah, he was on the scene in the 40s, and they were out on the movie scene, and he was in California, and they were. So, how about that?
You've seen that clip of him playing piano with his fingers upside down?
Yep.
Have you ever seen a pianist do that ever?
No. The closest thing was Chico Marx going like this, boing, boing.
Right, but not playing upside down. That was remarkable.
Although, actually, when I was young on the state park, my father had a worker, and he was sort of a hillbilly type of guy, and he named Tood Tangway, and he wore overalls, and sometimes we'd have a campfire party, and he'd bring out his fiddle, and he would do tricks, play it behind his head, lay down on his back and play under his feet, under his legs.
Kidding. Wow.
So there's a caricature I did of what's his name? That Star Trek guy, Patrick Stewart. I made him a
So like, if I commissioned you to do one like that with a couple colors, how much do you charge?
I charge about 50 for
50, and all we do is provide a photograph for you.
Yep, I've got a site called caricaturedrawing.net, and these are gift caricatures. If it was something you were going to use in a brochure, there would be an extra charge, of course, but not for you, of course.
But you mean if we just wanted to give it to a loved one for a birthday?
Yep. Yeah, the prices go from 25 to 50, starting at a black and white head and going up to a watercolor finished caricature with a little activity body. So caricaturedrawing.net is the site that's set up for that.
Bill, how much time investment is in that one or the Slim Gaillard?
Well, I hesitate to say because time doesn't matter. It doesn't relate to price, but I don't know. And I never think about it.
No, that's fine.
An hour, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
no,
sometimes I end up redoing it a few times.
Yeah. No, that's fine. Okay, well, let's move on. Is perception reality?
Perception reality. Yeah, I think it is. And I had something to say about perception. Yeah, I was going to say that people respond to art in different ways. So this is a lady looking at William de Kooning. Willie de Kooning, why can't you make your paintings neater? And here's an example from my cartooning class with the kids about perception. I perceived the artwork that this little girl did in a different way than she intended. Let me see. Oh yeah. Oh, so I I had a pose like this or something. I said, and the guy had a stick. Yeah, uh, sort of like Patrick Stewart did. He had a stick. I said, well, turn this guy into a golfer. Make him leaning on his golf stick. So she did it. And she did a good job. And then when she showed it to me on the Zoom, I said, what's that writing down there? And I read it. It said, nothing, nothing is here. And I said, oh, she was pretty clever. So I said, oh, I see. You're doing like a social commentary because like art golf is really boring and it's like a social wasteland. You know, it just means nothing. And is that why you said nothing is here? She said, no, I just didn't have time to draw anything down there. She had time to write nothing is here, but she didn't have time to draw something.
She had enough time to write it. It sounds like she studied some Marcel Duchamp or some conceptual art.
Yeah, she's hilarious. And then it made me think of an analogy. I said, oh, it's probably like those books. You'll come to a page and it'll say this page left intentionally blank.
Yeah.
Of course, she never saw one of those. But which is funny because it's not blank, right?
Yeah. Or you ever find those books, the whole book is blank and it will say everything God learned from man is the title of the book, or everything man learned from God, or it will say everything men know about women, and the whole book is blank.
Oh, that's a good joke.
But the great Duchamp is he took the Mona Lisa, a reproduction of the Mona Lisa, and he drew a mustache on it. Just sort of like a Mad Magazine, culture jamming alteration. And so he called it LHOOQ, which are 5 French letters pronounced, and it sounds like, oh boy, she has a hot bottom, is what it translates as. So it's, he manipulated a piece of existing art, the most known. Then 20 years later.
Wait, who did that?
This is Marcel Duchamp.
Oh, I see. I thought you were talking about the mime at first.
Yeah. No, not Marcel Marceau. This is Marcel.
Yeah,
Duchamp.
yeah. I'm a big Duchamp fan, but yeah, I'm also when I was in high school, I had a Marcel Marceau record album.
Nice.
There was some applause at the end.
Well, he's the only person in Mel Brooks's film called Silent Movie that says anything.
Yep, I remember that now.
Yeah, but here's the point. Duchamp put a mustache on the reproduction of the Mona Lisa. Then 20 years later, he presented the Mona Lisa again with no mustache, completely like it is, and he called it shaven.
Oh, that's clever.
So it's all in words. It's like your student. It was the words that were important. We think art, is something going on, but it couldn't be just conceptual. That's what Duchamp basically ruined art forever because he made it a head trip instead of an eye trip.
Yeah, you're right.
So what was the motive of the cave artist? Not what Herzog says in his doc or the New Yorker article he based his documentary on, or anthropologist. Just what's your hunch or guess was the motive of the cave artist?
Maybe like souvenir snapshots. He saw a mastodon and his buddy with a spear next to it. Next slide.
Now you mentioned, that was good. You mentioned poetry. Did you grow up reading poetry at all, or was it just the lyric writing from Cole Porter to Ray Davies? Did you actually read poetry growing up too?
Yeah, I read some poetry. I read some plays, and I actually read some plays. People don't read plays, but you can go to the library and read a play. I used to read philosophy in high school.
But tell me about poetry. What do you think the function of poetry is?
Well, I think it's sort of like concentrated orange juice. You know, you get a lot of a power of message and meaning and emotion in a few amount of words.
Yeah. So is your lyric writing like a form of poetry for you, or are you specifically saying I'm writing a song? And is there a difference?
No, no, there's not a big difference. Um, um, yeah, it's poetry and it's a song. Um, I enjoy rhyme. Maybe I'm too reliant on it, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And one thing I think about a lot is the combination of creativity and logistics. And you know, people say art. Oh, it's just fun. Oh, that's fun. Must be fun to paint. It must be fun to do artwork. Um, oh, you're so you get real creative when you do art, but you got this big logistical nut, and then you got the creative that have to work together, and that's important. I'm doing some illustrations now for a children's book, and it's a little heavy on the logistical. And I had to do a house in perspective, a three-quarter down view of the house with a squirrel up here looking down. And I've got to sort of compose these things sort of like a film director does. The author has too many characters. He's got 7 people in there. I think that's too many. I like to zero in on a couple, but I've got to get all these people. So I've got to think, okay, I'll have this guy in the foreground and this guy back here, and this guy. I got to deal with balance and perspective and anatomy, and I got to do all that nuts and bolts stuff to get to support the creative thing, which supports his creative thing of the writing.
No, I like that logistics things. It's similar to this question is what the human mind is capable of. Michael Apted, the great movie director, I asked him 40 years ago, why do rock video editors feel so obliged to edit fast? MTV was causing this rapid montage to come about. Most people don't know that Abel Gance invented rapid montage in 1922 in France, but it really flourished in the 80s, especially to the point where Marty Scorsese says, I cut my films faster because of MTV. And Michael Apted said, because we've learned to take in information faster. So I asked this question with a bias. Can humans literally learn to take in information faster, or are we just brainwashed to believe we can?
I'm not taking it in very fast, am I? Let me see. Yeah, I bet we can. I bet we can do it. Just like we can learn to ride our bike faster if we practice.
Right, but is it literally possible to multitask?
I think so. Although I've heard that it's not, that you can only do one thing at a time. But like for 3 seconds you're doing this, and 3 seconds you're doing that. You think you're doing them together, but you got a couple seconds on one, and But I don't know the answer.
What's more important, conviction or compromise?
Ooh, that sounds pretty unanswerable. No, I can't answer that.
That's all right. T.S. Eliot said poetry is outing your inner dialogue. What language is your inner dialogue in?
Dougalese.
Give me another word or description what that is.
Yeah. My language?
Dougalese, your language. I like that.
I don't know.
So a couple, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
These filmmaker guys I know, one of them is the mantra is ignore yourself. Jonas Mekas says there is no self-expression, and Cecil Taylor, the great jazz pianist, said, I'm just a vehicle and this stuff just comes through me. I know it's both and it depends. And I'm inclined to ask you, is art making more self-expression or more you're a vehicle for whatever technology or culture is dominant?
I had an answer for the first part, but I didn't understand the second part. It seems to me that I'm actually making the art. I don't think I'm a vehicle.
Yeah.
I think I work hard to do it.
Can art making be egoless?
I doubt it. I think artists are self-centered. I know that sounds like a negative thing, but in a way, I think they've got to be to do what they do to a certain extent.
Right. And Lewis Carroll says, I believe as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast. Have you believed in any impossible things lately?
I saw some impossible cartoons by my cartooning students recently. Let's see. I saw a movie called The Color of Magic recently, and they had the disc world, where the world was all flat like a pizza. I believed that to a certain extent, since I was watching the movie, the suspension of disbelief equals belief, I guess.
Beautiful. Bill, tell me one major element of your art that has changed since you started and one major element that stayed the same. And you can put it in art and music however you want.
I think my process of construction of art and music are both better and more organized. Like dealing with outlines and the steps of my process. So I think that's improved, and I think the thing that stayed the same is my sort of naive vision, my belief that silliness is important, and a little hint of the amateur in it is important too, especially with cartooning. Sometimes there's a little bit of the amateur, you could, because you're not trying to do things perfect with art. So some people would translate that as amateur, but sometimes amateur is delightful. For instance, I remember seeing Susie Williams perform and doing a little dance that seemed a little bit made up and awkward. Like it wasn't totally choreographed, but it was more inspired than any choreographed thing.
Yeah. No, Susie's a great dancer like that. She's like Martha Graham and amazing. Well, that's why she danced with Palabolas, one of the greatest dance troupes in America. I mean, it's pretty unique. That was a good example. Why is it so difficult for humans to consider the possibility that life may be pointless? I'm not saying life is pointless. I'm saying, why is it so hard for humans to consider that it might be pointless?
Well, it relates to their sense of self, and they figure if it's pointless, they're thinking, what am I doing? They like to think that they've got some value and purpose.
Yeah. Bill, Moshe Feldenkrais works with healing and movement. He says it's literally possible to identify a weakness and incorporate it to become a strength. Normally, we taught to overcome a weakness. Tell me a weakness you turned into a strength.
Ooh, I got a good example of that. So I, so I did a drawing and artwork. Usually I do artwork for a purpose or just or for a commission. I did this. I instigated it myself. This is a drawing I did called "Don't Draw and Drive." So so it's based on a limitation. The limitation was that I couldn't take time to draw this carefully. I was actually driving down the road with my hand on the pad paper on the seat next to me. So I was not looking at the paper. I was looking at the road because I wanted to be safe. And so there is a actual thing called blind drawing that artists do on purpose, and that in a way this is an example of it. But it's a sort of funny thing. Don't draw and drive. Parody on don't drink and drive, and it has a. I think it's a really good drawing because I was able to I was forced by the limitation of not having no time to get the most important features. You know that those few lines there are a truck, and so I was forced to simplify. And sometimes simplify is a great thing. People in poetry simplify, and
Yeah, I love the garbage cans over there too. The real simple garbage cans are beautiful. So, what's the function of laughter?
Uh, well, the, the function of humor is to muse yourself, which is more important than laughter. Laughter is just a physical representation of it that isn't really integral to the um, appreciation of the humor. Some people laugh when they hear something very funny, and some people don't. They say it's a release. There's lots of reasons to laugh, I guess. One is it's a release. One is to show people you get the joke. One other reason is it's fun. It's an excuse to sort of go ha 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 ha. You don't usually have an excuse to do that if nothing is funny.
It's like laughter therapy, but Gurdjieff, the Sufi guy, said laughter is the reconciliation of yes and no. And I like that because the word silly is in the middle of reconciliation. So you just use that word silly. I love that word.
I was just picturing a bank a mugger guy with a gun saying, "Okay, stick him up." Ha 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 ha. That's not an appropriate time to laugh. Although it might get you out of a tricky situation.
Well, that's the classic Jack Benny. Guy goes, "Your money or your life," and he goes, "Let me think about this." Jonathan Swift compared satire to a mirror in which people could see every face but their own. Can satire be destructive?
Yeah, it can certainly be destructive. People can take it seriously. They can take it personally.
My friend who wrote comedy for Robin Williams says that's the job of satire. So it's how you define what destructive is. But it's an interesting phenomenon. Like, what exactly is the whole function of the court jester, hired by the higher ups to make fun of them? And then how important is satire in our daily lives? You know, I find satirical news. I grew up with that was the week that was Saturday Night Live, and then eventually got deep into manipulating satire through James Joyce, but it's also it seems it's almost empowering. Like these guys work for the people they're making fun of. So it seems that satire is a complex thing. How much do you engage in satire in your work?
Not much. I'm not really much of a message guy, although I
I
do have
s-
messages for kids in my videos and songs about character values and learning about things like fish and art. But I'm not much of a message guy. I can only think of one time when I did a message thing. In Lebanon, there's a lot of Revolutionary War history, and there's a building on the green called the War Office. And so I did a picture for the local library show, art show. I put a peace sign on the War Office, and it had somebody with a big whitewash paint broom. I also did another one called a Peace Office, where I made it all sort of put flowers all over it and stuff.
yeah. Well, that's the classic Terry Southern line in Kubrick's Doctor Strangelove. There'll be no fighting in the war room.
Yeah, that's funny. That's a that's ironic.
What's the most significant difference between men and women, physical aside?
Uh, I don't know.
Can you forget to die?
That's a funny question. The- but by the way, you look familiar. Didn't I see you in that new Disney movie, The Inscrutables?
Bill, how do you find peace of mind?
Just relaxify my mind, peace of mind. Um, variety is real important to me. You know, from working hard to taking a walk to watching a show.
Yeah,
I'm pretty happy.
it's great. You think you got that sense of happiness by more from the way your parents raised you or on your own?
Yeah, I never thought of it. It could be my parents. Yeah, they were pretty satisfied,
Yeah.
pretty even. I never heard any arguments around the house.
If you were walking down the street today and you met yourself as a 12-year-old, what would you say to your 12-year-old self?
Tuck in your shirt. I I remember I used to buy husky jeans. So I guess I was a little chubby. So I'm
Yeah. Well, no, that's funny. When Tom Waits released his first movie, they says, "How's it feel to look at yourself on the big screen?" He says, "When I turned around and you could see my underwear coming out, it looked so big."
oh here's a philosophical question. Picture a guy with his shirt tucked in. Picture a guy with his shirt not tucked in. Picture another guy with his shirt with half of his shirt tucked in and half hanging out. So which is worse, all hanging out or half hanging out?
I would say none of them are worse. They're all great.
I think half hanging out would be a new fashion style.
Yeah, it's like that's what it is. It sounds like a fashion show to me.
Yeah, just a variation on how the clothes are.
Yep. On what occasion do you lie?
Hmm. I was tempted to say when I'm doing a caricature and there's somebody that's got some drastic features that people would say is ugly, but I don't. But then again, I don't lie. I don't exaggerate them, and I don't ignore them. So I guess I tell the truth. So I'm not lying there. I just sort of draw them as they are instead of exaggerating. Um, Sometimes I give them a choice. Like if somebody has a one eye that's sort of crossed, I'll say, you want that one eye sort of crossed or not? If they say um, no crossed eye, I'll give them no crossed eye.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a lie.
Yeah. Which way should toilet paper come off the roll? Over or under?
Over.
Why?
I don't know why, but I used to have a boss, and I used to have to put the toilet paper back in there, and he had an opinion on that. I can't remember what it was, but my wife likes it the other way. I guess
Right.
that's the difference between men and women.
There you go. You've got to meet Brad Kay, Susie's partner in musical and songs, and one of them, and he has the patent for the toilet paper roll next to the roll in his bathroom, and it shows it 110 years ago when they invented it going over.
Ah,
But it is interesting. The percentage is it's like 90% say over, about 10% say under.
huh.
If a publisher was to release your autobiography off the top of your head, what would the title be?
Creative crackpot.
They want to scent the glue in the binding. What smell would it be?
Cilantro.
Love it. They want to have a color other than black ink for some of the text. What color?
Violet.
Nice. If a statue was built in your honor, where would you want it displayed and what would it be made of?
Let's see. I think I'd like to put it over in Trafalgar Square.
Where is that?
That's in London,
Okay.
but I don't know why. There's an old British music hall song that goes, "I live in Trafalgar Square with 4 lions to guard me, fountains and statues all over the place, and a metropole staring me right in the face."
That was beautiful. Go, Billy, go. So what would your statue be made of?
Veal loaf.
Nice.
But it wouldn't last long with knowing how the pigeons are in Trafalgar Square.
Tell
It
me
wouldn't have to
something.
last. That'd be sort of ironic. Huh? Statues are made of stone, so they can last forever. If mine's a veal loaf, it's going to be temporal.
Tell me something good you never had and you never want.
I guess sex with Bridget Bardot.
It's good. Never had it. Never want it. Whoa.
Well, I don't want it. She's not in very good shape now.
Pretty good answer there, Bill. You know my favorite Bridget Bardot line.
Yeah, I watched some of your interviews. That's why I said it.
I love to repeat that one. Bridget Bardot says, "When I make love, I don't think." It's like, good luck. If you were in a vat of vomit up to your neck and someone threw a bag of shit at your face, what would you do?
I'd regret the situation.
What's the difference between a hobo and a bum?
2 letters.
A bum says, "Got a spare cigarette?" A hobo goes, "Smoking alone?" No, I know. You helped out with one of my hobo music shows once with a good couple CDs of the history of hobo music is very amazing.
Hallelujah, I'm a bum.
Yeah.
Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, bum again by Haystack Mac.
Well, we just got a couple more questions, but why do the questions why don't we do the questions at the end? Why don't you sing another tune or two from your new magnum opus?
How about the art style known as abstraction? Doing it or viewing it gives satisfaction. It's not a face or place, but shouldn't be dismissed. Though we've never seen it, doesn't mean it can't exist. Try it, you'll like it. That type of painting interests me the more. It's like a new world I'm free to explore. Some artists see life and try to recreate it. Some take a blank canvas and originate it. An abstract painting, some may not want it. They may say, my kid could have drawn it. Abstract art is so misunderstood. It's hard to know what could make it good. So this other one is real short. So these are excerpts of the songs. Impressionism is about light and color, landscapes, friendscapes, like double for sure. Monet painted haystacks, showing the effect of light at different times of the day. Monet would say, okay, it is 5 o'clock, time to hit the hay. Surrealism combines things you don't expect. Check out a Dali, you'll say what the heck. The unexpected juxtaposition of disparate elements. That was his shtick. And you see, there really is a lot of isms.
Oh, that was good. Billy, do another one.
But this one's about clay. You can't be clay. You can't be clay. Yeah. You can mush it around. You can push it around. Oh my gosh, you can smush it around, but you can't be clay. Manipulate it with your fingers, but a little bit will stick. A tattletale bit of clay will give you away. It won't go away, no matter how much you flick. It lingers under your fingernails. Hear somebody say, that flicking clay's under my fingernails. That's a man of clay, a hero of clay, or a kid of clay, the hero of clay. We know how much it's worth, he's worth to the world today. He's really down to earth, modest I would say. He may save our planet, we need his service now. Though I don't know offhand, it puzzles me just how that hero of clay will save the day.
Brilliant, Billy. Thank you so much. We're going to close out with a few more questions, and I appreciate your time. This really been fun and enlightening. I wanted to tell you, though, you mentioned Salvador Dali, one of my favorites. Did you know he did the cover of a TV guide?
No.
Check it out. McLuhan used it in his book. Just type in Google Images TV Guide 1962 Salvador Dali. It's amazing. And you know, he did a Jackie Gleason album cover.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. If you ever find it, it's really cool. And then the other thing you mentioned about Cezanne and Monet is Monet said, if you take your painting and put it in the bushes and it blends in, it's a good painting.
but hard to find.
Yeah. Thornton Wilder, the guy who wrote, funny playwright in America, said, art is confession. Art is the secret told. But art is not only the desire to tell one's secret, it's the desire to tell it and hide it at the same time. You've laid your cards on the table for 90 minutes. I'm not insinuating you haven't already answered this, but what's it really all about for you, Billy?
It's about variety. It's about connections. It's about finding that little angle on reality and doing it up and showing it to people.
Beautiful. These are 5 Alan Watts questions just off the top of your head in a couple words. Who started it all?
I wouldn't know the answer to that question.
Are we going to make it?
Yes.
Where do we put it?
In our pocket.
Who's cleaning it up?
Not me.
Is it serious?
Damn right.
Okay, last 2 questions. Bill Dougal, it's really been fun. What is a cultural shift you see developing today that inspires you?
Well, I think it's definitely the internet, and because it's like a library. There's a lot of information. There's a lot of inspiration. There's artwork, and the artwork and the culture is getting to the people because people are loving to get it that way.
Last question, Bill. Thanks again. What gives you the most optimism?
I do have a lot of optimism, but come to think of it, it's totally unfounded.
Over and out, dude. It's really been a pleasure. Thank you so much. That was fun.
Thank you.
Bye.